All right. Today I got the gorgeous Lucy with me. And Lucy, I think I've said this to you that every week I'll sit in my clinic, either virtual or in person, and I'll go, oh my, I've got this person in front of me and they're presenting with this whole raft of really complex symptoms. I'm
Yep.
in over my head. And this happens to me, if not once a week, a couple of times a week. And back when we first met, you were my person that week when I saw you and you were sharing with me
Yes.
your story. I was like, oh no. And what I was doing in my brain was, I suppose, trying to understand from you, and you're going to tell us your story and your symptoms, but what was going on in your body. So I was thinking from a systems based, and I kept going, Vanessa, just go back to core principles. And I remember saying to you in that session, and I hope it came across with love, that I'm not so concerned with your diagnoses. And back then you had quite a few potential autoimmune diagnoses and things going on, um, because they're labels. I'm more
Mm.
interested, and what I've been working with you on is, what's your symptoms, what's happening. So do you want to share with everyone, I suppose, why you came to see me and what's your story and how you were feeling? Because you
Yep.
you look
Sure.
terrible and you were not in a good way.
No, no. So I basically, well, at the time when I came to see you, I was very unwell and I didn't actually know what was wrong with me. Um, I had always considered myself extremely well, extremely fit. I shopped once a week at the farmers markets, and all my other shopping was kind of in health food stores, all that kind of stuff. And this had been going on for about 10 years. So to be in a situation where I literally was, my body felt like it was breaking down. Like I literally, may sound dramatic, but I literally felt like my body was breaking down. It stopped functioning. I felt not only physically in breakdown, but emotionally in breakdown. I had a big stress point in my life where it was a big breakdown in the relationship between me and one of my family members. And then in the March, I got COVID. But it really didn't make sense to me why I felt this bad. As I said, I was previously really fit. I was strong. You couldn't basically knock me down if you tried. I gym twice a week. I'd burn the candle at both ends. I lived a clean lifestyle. So I basically just had already had I already was into the alternative way of thinking, and I knew food was medicine, all those types of things. So I think just when I look back, naturally, I would have landed on someone like you. It just was, I guess, yeah, a point of progression for me. I've been to an acupuncturist, I've been to an osteo, I've been to an integrative GP. I've been to all those places. So you were just going to be a natural progression. But I didn't realize how much I needed you until, I started to see the fog lift. So I guess from a systems point of view, by the time I came to see Vanessa, I will say that what I do have was, I think, long COVID mixed with a bit of emotional kind of breakdown. But definitely long COVID is what you would say my diagnosis is. From a systems point of view, it's hard for me to remember, your brain's good at forgetting how bad it was, but, I had insomnia, I had digestive issues, I had swallowing issues, I had vision issues, I had my nervous system, my arm would shake, my whole body would shake, I'd have twitches and tremors, very bad, low mood, anxiety. Look, I probably could go into my phone and the list would just keep rolling. But basically it was around my nervous system, my mood, and my digestion. The first meeting I had with you, I actually walked away and I was like, why is she asking me about like, why are we talking about my past and my history and all this stuff? Like, I'm here to get down to business. I want to know, like, send me away with a diet. Let me follow something, like I need these strict rules to follow. So I just want to get better. I was still in that goal-driven type thing. I remember coming home to my husband saying, I don't think this is right for me, but I'm so unwell and I want to fix myself and be better, that I'll keep going. I'll give this a shot. Anyway, but what I realize now is that Vanessa actually looks at mind, body, soul. So it wasn't just about healing my body, it was about healing my mind and my soul, being kind to myself, allowing myself to rest and get better, allowing myself space to, do all these things that I had to do. It wasn't just about eating well and going over the diet plan. It was about, really thinking about, okay, yeah, how am I living my life? Am I filling my own cup? All those types of things. So I want to just say that you're not just someone who focuses on food. You are definitely encompass the mind, body, and spirit. So yes.
That's amazing. Thank you. And I suppose my reflection was you sat like this the whole time. You probably don't remember because you're so unwell, but you couldn't sit straight. And
Yeah.
and I just
I was a shell of myself.
you really were. And I actually
Yeah.
remembered the day that I saw you and I went, wow, here's Lucy.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
back. Like I remember
But
the day. I
you didn't
remember the
even
day.
know what I was previously. You didn't have anything to kind of go
I
off.
didn't. But you
Yeah.
were so incredibly unwell, and when you were rattling off all of these potential diagnoses around
Yep.
certain autoimmune conditions and things like that, I think where you've landed around long COVID, and really working through what's going on for you at that mitochondria. And like you said, what's that intersection with your adrenal health? I've really
Mm-hmm.
seen you step into that thriving. So going back to back then, we often talk about yourself as a battery and you got 100%, although you like to go to 110,
Yes.
but let's say 100. Where were you at? Do you remember?
Uh,
Because I've got
like
a
I said to
guess.
you, I pretty much felt like, again, I know this sounds very, very dramatic, but I
Mm,
felt like my body was, as a system, my body was failing. Like I felt maybe at 10%, and
yeah,
having lived my life at 100% or 110%, 10% was very foreign to me. My body was just functioning. It wasn't, I think I remember sharing this with you, and it was actually a really scary thing for me. But I remember I had my son was 3 at the time, and I remember I taking him to a road, and I felt like that I was not confident enough to cross the road with him and keep him safe because I'm sorry,
yeah.
because my whole system had stopped working. So my senses had stopped working.
Yeah.
I felt too weak to be able to protect him. Like my reflexes, everything had shut down on me. So I felt like I wasn't able to protect him across the road.
It was a really hard time for you, Lucy. I remember.
Mm.
And
Yeah, sorry.
that's a big, no, don't be sorry at all. I think that was a really big thing because we want to show up as the best person, as the best parent. And sometimes, like I've been chronically sick as well.
Yes,
And
yeah,
and there's a feeling of guilt, there's a feeling of burden. And a lot of the conversations we had was about you putting yourself first because you had to
yes,
recover. And
yes,
long COVID, right? That's what we're talking
yes,
about here, where
yes, yeah.
the bodily systems, because you've been impacted with this cytokine storm, your body's gone in to protect itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it's done. It's gone into fight. It's an elevated immune reaction. So the
Yep.
immune system doesn't know, oh, it's time to stop. And
Yep.
what I often see in clinic is that people who are the high performers, the people who've run the marathons, who, do the exercise, and are really driven because they're operating at that level, then when they get the infection, then it's harder to bring that calm back to the nervous
Yeah.
system. And
And
it's full
it's
on,
just
like your senses, like you said. were stuffed.
Yeah. And so it was, and like you said, you didn't focus on a diagnosis. And I wasn't focused on that either, although this had been going on for about 4 months or so. And 4 months doesn't sound like a long time, but in the great scheme of things, when you need to be there, show up for your children, I'm busy with my work, all those types of things. 4 months is a long time to be running at 10%. So I was starting to turn to Dr. Google and say, well, I'd been to a couple of GPs previously, not needing to see GPs because I was well, and all my standard blood tests come back, you're fine. You're totally fine. And so I'm sitting there going, but I'm not fine. So is this all in my head? It wasn't until I came to see you that you're like, no, you're not fine. And I can see in all these results and everything else why you're not fine. It was that validation of like, no, actually you're not fine and there is lots of work to do. And that I started to take the supplements. I started to do all the things. And know that I started to feel better. I could tell that I could start to feel better.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have to talk to someone?
Yeah, it was.
All right. So let's go and talk about functional testing. So it's
Mm-hmm.
expensive. Many of
Yes.
them are. Some are cheaper, some are not. But often it's a test, don't guess approach. And I see it as an investment. And I remember a friend of mine, right back when my daughter got sick, she said, if you don't spend your money on this, what are you going to do with it?
Yes.
You're either stashing it in the bank or you're saving it up. And I know, times are tough, but if you don't have your health, and especially where you've been with your health and where I've been with my health, many people that I work with have been struggling for 20 years or 30 years. The testing can be really powerful. So you've done quite a few different functional tests. Do you want to talk us through the ones that you think have really helped shift the dial for you? Does one
Look,
stand out?
definitely, I would say definitely the gut test.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say also the blood tests that aren't covered by Medicare, or even that are covered by Medicare, that you have that knowledge of knowing that these tests are going to give us more data. So they're not your standard like full blood count, your iron, your this, your that. It's those tests that you have that very in-depth knowledge about, that you see one thing, you're like, okay, well, we need to test for these other things that could give us more information, that I wouldn't be able to go to my GP and know that.
Mm-hmm.
And the GP, although they want you in good health, they don't actually have the time to get you there. They're just basically keeping everyone at bay, because if they were going to give the approach that you give and you give to each client and how thorough you are, they wouldn't be able to run a practice or do what they do. You are able to, you're a detective. You do link the dots and you're like, yeah, I reckon the gut test and all those other tests, either through Medicare or that are outside of Medicare, like those blood tests and things like that, I wouldn't normally ask for, or the GP wouldn't normally order. I think those have been the important ones.
It's given us great information, hasn't it? And we've been able
It
to
has, yeah.
create you a bio-individual plan, which isn't
Yep.
forever. It's okay, what do we now do? I think at the beginning we were meeting quite regularly, then it's spaced
Yes.
out to 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and it's going to get longer and longer. It might be once a
Yes.
year.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the battery. You're at 10%, which is
Yes.
incredibly low. That was my guess. If I was to give a guess, that's what I was going to guess. You're at about 10%. Where do
Yep.
you feel you are now?
I feel like I'm about 80%, 90%. Just before Christmas, I was saying about 70%. So look, me being me, I'm not completely satisfied with how well I am. But if I'm going to give a comparison to where I was, to where I'm now. Well, look, I'm 200% on where I am now to where I was. So, and I said to myself when I was really unwell, I said, look, you know, if I can just get to the point where, you know, I can, you know, the brain fog is lifted enough that I can, you know, plan my day, or I can coordinate both of my kids' lunch boxes and think about dinner, you know, I'll live to be a happy person, because, you know, at that stage, I was just hoping for some sort of quality of life. So yes, for where I was, where I'm now, I'm totally happy. But me being me, I'm, you know, I'm hoping to get, to 100%, you know, back there.
Yeah. I laughed the other day when you texted me and you said 110. I was like, no,
110%.
no, 100. You're not allowed
100,
to go
yeah.
to 110 anymore.
Yeah. And I think it's good. I think I should note that when I started to realize that it was, you know, probably long COVID, but, you know, if we break it back down, like you said, just inflammation, it's just the body on fire. I started to explore a few groups with people suffering from long COVID. And what I can say is that the people that have chosen to go down the journey that I have, like with someone like you who's very qualified, who encompasses the mind, body, and spirit, we're the ones who are getting well. We're the ones who, you know, are not really active on the group, all that kind of stuff. The ones who are doing the low dose, I think it's called, I think it's methotrexate or something like that.
LDN, yeah.
LDN, yeah, or the histamines to try and keep the mast cells at bay, all those things. They're the ones who keep coming up and saying, oh, look, I'm crashing really bad, or I'm doing this, or, you know, I'm having this symptom come back up. They're the ones who are still quite active on the group and are not making any progress. So I'm seeing those clear differences myself.
That's amazing. And look, I do see it a lot where people say, look, I just want to help myself. You know, where they say, look, I'm
Yes.
just going to get in Facebook groups and I'm just going to see what other people do. But the real issue we face with that is everyone's different. So, and we were just talking before about, you know, the three-legged stool. So if you think about your health as a stool, and I know it's not a poo stool, a stool that you sit on. And I know it seems like a strange analogy, but it's kind of the easiest way for me to explain that. If it was to have three legs, one leg's your genetics, and you can't choose that. It's what you've been given from your parents. One leg of the stool is your gut, and it's changing all of the time based on what's going on. And some people have a predisposition to poor gut health, you know, and challenges with gut health, and, you know, people with Crohn's and ulcerative colitis and celiac disease and gluten intolerance and dairy intolerance, etc. The gut can really be a challenge, and that's where the histamines come into play as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the environment. So that encompasses everything from our food, our toxins, our hydration, you know, what are the creams that we're rubbing on our skin, what's in our shampoo, when we buy clothes, making sure we wash them because they're sprayed with fire retardant. You know, we get lots of things in our body that we would never even imagine. Glyphosate, you know, all the toxins we spray on the fruits and veggies and the gardens and things. So with the three legs, you got, like I said, the genetics, the gut, and the environment. And if one of those legs start to get a bit wobbly, then the chair, your health, gets wobbly. If you get two that become compromised, often health falls over, the stool falls over. And you've been
I
there,
think,
Lucy, I've been there.
yeah, I
But a lot
think
of
the
people
thing,
say, I'm going to fix it myself. Just
I
to
think,
finish that off, because we're all different. So in a Facebook group, they're not going to think about your genetics. They're not going to have that strange conversation that you and I had right at the beginning around, tell me about your mum's health and your dad's health and all your siblings' health. That's important. That gives me the idea of the genetics.
yes,
And then their gut and environmental factors are going to be different. So
it's
sometimes,
so, yeah,
yeah, a
it's so
bio-individual
personalized.
approach is what you need. Yeah.
Yeah, and you need, and what I've realized is that, you know, it keeps changing. So it's not like what we did at the start is working for us now, working for me now. it keeps changing on that path to regaining your health. It keeps changing. And you are not only, you're a nutritionist, all those things, but you're always learning, and you have a keen interest in all of those things because you know how important it is. You're learning this stuff not only for your clinic but for yourself. So I feel like I could never learn. It would take me all the time it's taken you to get myself well. And that's not what I do. I don't study nutrition or health and well-being. That's not my path. So you do need help, and you need these functional tests and all those things to kind of put the picture together and get a protocol going that's going to change your life.
Yeah, and I think with long COVID too, Lucy, you and I have found that the research is just continuing.
Yeah.
So by keeping up with it, and that's, something that I do in some of my mentor groups who are amazing humans who are synthesizing the research. So then what I can do is then bring it to you and go, hey, there's this new thing. Do you want to try
Yes.
it? Because there's been these trials and people have done really well.
Yes.
This is the research, and you go, yeah, let's give it a crack. Some of those things have been, I think, a deal breaker, a deal
Yes.
maker, not
Deal
breaker,
maker.
maker,
Yeah,
haven't they?
definitely.
And one
Yes.
of them is the hydrogen water,
Yes.
where there's some
Yes.
science. That's
Yes.
just a simple one, but there's been a whole bunch of other things, which has been really incredible. But you've done
Yeah.
the work. So you take it away, you say, right, what do I have to eat? What do I have to do? What do I have to think? How do I have to breathe? All
Yes.
of it. And you've been
Yes.
doing it. So it's a real credit to you to go from 10% to 80, 90%
Yeah.
in really a year. So it was a year ago that you had COVID.
COVID. Yeah, it's been over a year. And I think, like I said, prior to this, I felt like I lived a very clean, active, healthy lifestyle. So I think we can all have these assumptions of, oh, we're doing this, and, that's exactly what we should be doing, and that's a clean life. But, it doesn't actually reflect what's going on the inside. I think we need that data and that knowledge. And I think once you start kind of opening up different doors, for me, I just want to keep opening them up, and I just want to, regain my health completely. And not only do I want to regain my health, I want to avoid diseases and stuff that I'm learning that I'm really susceptible to because of my genes, because of my gut, all these things. And on top of that, I want to give that same power to my family, my kids, my husband. Yeah.
You're a powerful role model.
Yes.
I see
Trying.
it with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Try.
I love you send me photos like you're like, we went to the markets and asked the kids what they want. This box is like overflowing with the rainbow colors of fruits and veggies. And I love it
Yes.
because you're like, put in what you want, and then they're more
Yes.
inclined to eat it.
Yes.
And they're really monkey see, monkey do. That's what
Mm,
happens with kids.
definitely.
You're doing an amazing job. So what would you say to people who are uncertain if they're saying, look, why would I see Vanessa, why would I see a functional nutritionist when I've got, certain ailments? What's your final, I suppose, closing statement to give those people an idea of how I can help them?
I think the biggest thing for me is if you don't have your health, what do you actually have? It's all well and good to say, oh, that's too expensive, or, I don't have the time for that. Okay, think about, do I have the time to be sick? Do I have the time to face, terminal illnesses or long-standing illnesses that are going to, shorten my life, affect my quality of life? I feel like instead of asking yourself, I don't see the point in the investment, ask yourself where this is going to go if you don't invest it. Yeah, like if you don't have your health, what do you have? You can have, money and all these other things, but your health is imperative. Not only does it give you make you feel good, it enables you to do things and be there for your own family. And for me, it's a no-brainer. And I feel like, Vanessa, we could have that conversation with you. If money was you had to be careful around money, you could say, okay, well, these are my top priorities, and you would work through those, and, it wouldn't be a quick, I just wanted kind of that quick fix, and I just went hard and fast. But for some people, that can't happen. But I feel like you'd be able to tailor a package around, what that individual needed.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. Yeah, I
Mm.
asked, do you want to go mild, medium, or hot? You may or
Yes,
may not have remembered that, but
I don't.
you
Yeah,
said I will do anything. That's what you
yes,
said. You said I'll go hot. You tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And I was like, oh,
yes,
here we go. Here's a
yes.
lady who's going to get well.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So
Mm.
yeah,
You are
I
spot
feel like
on.
you can tailor anything to anybody. And also I feel like maybe people feel ashamed about perhaps how they have been living or their lifestyle choices that they have made. And I want to just say that, yeah, you're not there to judge people. You're there to empower people to want to make those better choices, and also to, just kick off our digestion so we don't feel hungry all the time. We're not craving the sugar all the time. We have to do the work with you to start making the changes, because most of the time we are craving these things because our system is out of energy, or we aren't digesting, or yeah, so all these things that we're doing we feel ashamed of. If there's actually a reason for that, and you can help with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You've nailed it. So
Yes,
this is your year. Tell me
yes.
now you're 80, 90%. What's the thing that you love to do? Where's the big thing where you're like, yes, I've
I
enjoyed that.
think I'd love to tell you it's like climbing mountains or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the old me. I don't like to say old me. That feels like something's dead inside. But no, the things that I like to do now, I actually feel like I've been able to gain a bit more focus in my life, and that I'm able to accept that operating at a slower pace is okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I think I'm just taking that slower pace. I think I've lived in the fast lane for 36 years, so I'm just enjoying the slow pace. But yeah, I do have some things on the horizon this year. I am gonna get back into exercise. I'm gonna do a different style of exercise, take on a few different hobbies. Yeah, and just I guess be just calmer and more focused about everything that I am doing.
I love it. That presence. What do they say?
Yes.
Presence is a present.
Yes.
Powerful
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes.
Thank you, Lucy, for spending time with me today. I think you sharing your story is really powerful, and seeing your health go from where it was to like crumpled over to today, this confident, gorgeous woman who you are, has been an absolute honor. And I feel very grateful to be part of your health team. So thank you, Lucy,
Couldn't
for
have done it
bringing me in.
without you. Couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
Bye.